Every consultant has had this experience. You're at a conference, or maybe you're listening to a podcast and someone presents an idea that hits you like a lightning bolt. Not because it's new, but because you've been feeling this, seeing this, wrestling with this, and writing about this idea for months or maybe years. Right? But somehow they have this crisp language, this memorable phrase that makes everyone in the room go, aha. And suddenly, they're the undisputed authority. They get the speaking gigs. They become known for the insight you've been living with all along. So how exactly did they come up with this language? And next time, how do you make sure it's you invited to speak on the stage and not some other consultant? Before I reveal the answer to that question, let me tell you about a leaked memo that changed how the world talks about climate. In 2002, Republican communications consultant Frank Luntz sent a now leaked memo to President Bush that would reshape global environmental discourse with a simple change of words. Luntz wrote, "The scientific debate is closing against us, but not yet closed. There is still a window of opportunity to challenge the science. Voters believe that there is no consensus about global warming within the scientific community. Should the public come to believe that the scientific issues are settled, their views about global warming will change accordingly. Therefore, you need to continue to make the lack of scientific certainty a primary issue in the debate." The question then, from Luntz's perspective, is how do you introduce a new, credible perspective to the conversations? Is it more data or new studies? No, it's new language. He continues, "The phrase global warming should be abandoned in favor of climate change." The impact was immediate. As The Guardian observed, the phrase global warming appeared frequently in President Bush's speeches in 2001, but practically disappeared to nothing in 2002. The previous existing frame of the same idea, global warming, conjured vivid images of a planet steadily heating up, triggering concern and calls to action. It also implies human agency because warming suggests an active process. Here's renowned cognitive linguist George Lakoff.
The idea was to avoid global warming or global heating at all, which sounded like humans were responsible. And climate change sounded like, well, climate's kind of nice. You think of palm trees and, change just happens, right? So the idea there was to take out all of the human responsibility in the linguistics of that term.
So in coordination with this new frame, the government began using words like healthy, clean, safe, even when they were talking about coal or nuclear power plants, hence the term clean coal. Same phenomenon, different frame, completely different political reality. And that exact same principle of reframing a concept by developing the language around it is precisely how unknown experts become undisputed authorities in their fields. Every single authority in any market has developed their own frames and their own language. Individual pieces of great content can leave an audience with a warm, fuzzy feeling towards the author and can lead to business inquiries too. But if you want to go further, if you want to become the undisputed authority in your niche or what you do, you need to hang those ideas together and frame them. Take Daniel Goleman, who studied neuroscience research while observing workplace dynamics. The existing frame, soft skills, carried implications that didn't match up with what he was seeing, right? It made those abilities sound unmeasurable and secondary to real intelligence. But his data showed that they were measurable, they were teachable, and they were predictive of success.
I didn't invent the phrase emotional intelligence, I just made it famous. The guy who invented the phrase is now the president of Yale University, Peter Salovey, with his then graduate student, John Mayer. And I saw that they had written an article called Emotional Intelligence in a very obscure journal. My job at the Times was to look at all the journals and see what's newsworthy, what's interesting, what's relevant, and then make that an article in the Times. And I thought, wow, emotional intelligence, what a great phrase. It seems like an oxymoron. How can you have intelligence and emotions? But then I realized it means being intelligent about emotion. And so I use that as the frame for the book I wrote, Emotional Intelligence, which became a global bestseller. It's in more than 40 languages these days.
Or Eric Ries, who studied lean manufacturing principles from Japan while working with tech startups in San Francisco. So though frames already existed of trial and error, but there was no language that fully captured what he felt was happening in startups in Silicon Valley. Ries saw that startup experimentation was systematic and scientific, and subsequently he comes up with a new frame and new language like lean startup, MVP, pivot.
A lot of my work is just descriptive. It's not actually telling people what to do. It's simply giving a name and a concept to a thing that already happened.
Then there's Austin Kleon, who was collecting quotes from artists about creative borrowing while he was observing his own creative struggles. The existing frames suggested that learning from other artists was less creative than pure originality, but his data showed that all great artists actually built on previous work. He needed new language to demonstrate that.
Steal Like an Artist was literally just, I had this series of blog posts called 25 Quotes to Help You Steal Like an Artist. Like, I was just collecting all these quotes by artists I admired who were using this word steal, and I was just sort of like, this is really weird and interesting to me.
You don't have an idea to own without a frame. Emotional intelligence reframed the existing idea of soft skills. Lean startup reframed an existing idea of trial and error specifically for tech startups. And Steal Like an Artist reframed the existing idea of creative influence. And notice what happened when authorities developed those frames, right? Daniel Goleman could have written dozens of brilliant articles about workplace psychology, but without the emotional intelligence frame, his work would have remained scattered insights that people couldn't easily remember or share. The frame transforms expertise into authority and subsequently tangible IP. There is not a single undisputed authority who doesn't own a frame. You can have all the good ideas, but if they're disconnected and lack a unifying thread and frame of reference, there's nothing for readers to hang on to or share. Without the frame, even the best insights remain scattered and forgettable. You have to hang the ideas together, frame them, and then name them. The frame is what makes the authority recognizable and memorable. George Lakoff puts it this way: reframing is a matter of accessing what we and like-minded others already believe unconsciously, making it conscious and repeating it till it enters normal public discourse. Authorities don't invent ideas, they give voice to existing intuitions. Rory Sutherland makes the point that pigeon and dog breeders already had a sense of the concept of evolution before Charles Darwin invented the frame. Darwin didn't invent evolution, but he did observe the concept, put an argument behind it, and then give it language and a name. What he had to say rang true for many because, like the dog breeders, it aligned with things that they could see with their own eyes and feel. The gradual change of species over time through natural selection. They just hadn't paid close attention to it like Darwin had. So what does an effective frame actually look like? Often it's a combination of words that already have existing meaning to your audience. That's important because those existing words trigger a network of related ideas, images, and feelings instantly. That's what happens with words like steal, lean, change, intelligence, and lie. But when you connect one word with another in a way that they've not been connected before, that creates a new meaning, a new frame, entirely pulling from the existing meaning of the two words. And that's particularly true when those two words or terms contrast in a strange or unexpected way, like the subtle art of not giving a. James Clear beautifully demonstrates this with Atomic Habits. When he wrote the book, the existing frames around habit formation were fragmented, right? Willpower as a muscle that needed strengthening, habit loops, motivation-based approaches that demanded you want it more. Clear reframed habit building through a systems lens that tiny changes compound over time. In an interview with Tim Ferriss, he breaks down how he landed on the frame of Atomic Habits.
Atomic has multiple meanings. It can be tiny or small, so your habit should be easy to do. It can be the fundamental unit in a larger system, so like atoms build into molecules, and systems versus goals is like a big part of the book. It can be the source of immense energy or power. So I think if you kind of combine all those three meanings, you get the big arc of the book, which is you make changes that are small and easy to do. You layer them on top of each other like units in a larger system, and then you end up with these kind of powerful or remarkable results as a byproduct.
The frame of the book captured two beautifully contrasting words as a phrase that nobody was using before the book came out. And now that frame has instant meaning, and James Clear owns it. In a separate interview, Adam Grant beautifully captures what this does for the reader of Clear's work.
Whenever somebody says James Clear, immediately these phrases go through my head, like habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Consistency beats intensity. We don't rise to the level of our goals, we sink to the level of our systems.
When you develop deep expertise around a specific problem, you see patterns others miss. But seeing isn't enough. You need language that helps others see what you're seeing, which is what frames do. They make your unique perspective accessible and memorable. So, where do you start? Every frame begins with one painful frustration you solve. That's where all your insights and thinking should hang from. Most consultants skip this foundational step entirely. They try to frame scattered thoughts instead of first identifying the one core problem that connects everything that they do. A core problem as experienced by one particular person. So you find that frustration first, you frame everything around talking about that frustration and solving it, and you own that conversation. Because when you own frame, you own the conversation.